The Extra-Medical Curriculum, Case 1, Why Do Doctors Lie? This is parallel video 7G. A letter from the new chairman of the GMC, Professor Terence Stevenson. He is announcing that he's fully committed to continuing the program of massive change that the GMC has undergone in the last few years. It is indeed a very different regulatory authority than the GMC that existed in 1997, and the significance of that difference will become apparent. Some email exchanges between myself and Julian Williams, the revalidation advisor of the Registration and Revalidation Directorate. Julian has prompted me to undertake this response. The 1990s were a pretty tough time for the medical profession in some respects, but in other respects it was a very exciting time when ethical issues and clinical decision-making was subject to very robust debate. This was a debate that I organised at the 30th annual meeting of the British Burn Association in Bristol in 1997. The lineup of speakers was truly impressive, and that was the atmosphere that I was expecting to find when I came to the Chinese University of Hong Kong in 1999. This was my first academic position, and yes, indeed, there were many people in this region who have made tremendous contributions to the advancement of plastic surgery, of science, and I have described this more fully in an accompanying video. But for the sake of time, what was the response of the local plastic surgery community? Well, it was described as regression. Regression, the description that the chairman of the board of plastic surgery insisted was associated with my department following reorganization. What were we doing? Far more high quality plastic surgery procedures, multidisciplinary procedures, but significantly less biopsies of neck lumps and breast lumps. Regression. But when it comes to deaths in cosmetic surgery in Hong Kong, that's when I really found some problems. Going to an inquest and hearing about the catastrophic disasters that have occurred in the private sector, where there is a dangerous lack of clinical governance, caused me to raise the issue that the medical profession is given autonomy by the government to regulate itself, and that regulatory authority, the Medical Council of Hong Kong, has to establish mechanisms to provide a safe environment for patient treatment. But there's another issue to that, and the coroner in his inquest that had been interrupted 2 years to look to see whether there was a criminal charge that could be laid against the doctor, said that beauty surgery should be conducted in hospital by specialists in plastic surgery. That was the public impression. But who are these specialists in plastic surgery in Hong Kong? Well, 23 were self-appointed in 1993 with no formal training and no formal assessment. Some of these are excellent surgeons, but I've described this in detail in the magazine of which I am the editor. This goes to over 100,000 digital recipients. It's a statement of the situation of the founding of the Plastic Surgery Board. And there is nothing to be ashamed of that the original plastic surgeons came from such a mix. But there's another issue which was in the preceding paragraph, and that is to do with the Fair Trade Description Ordinance. Because if people are stating that they have training in cosmetic surgery as part of their formal training program, but they do not, then they are not being honest. If people are saying that they've been through a formal training program with an assessment of their competence and they have done neither, that too is a deception. It's false. It's a fraud perpetrated upon the public who read this information. The problem is that the Medical Council of Hong Kong is also party to this deception, as is the Hong Kong Academy of Medicine, as is the College of Surgeons of Hong Kong, as is the Hospital Authority of Hong Kong, because they've all been informed about it and none of them have done anything about it. This is a letter to the Secretary of Justice, respected Sir, Mr. Yun, Rimsky, you gave an impressive sense of robustness in your defense of the law. If the law is broken, appropriate actions have to be taken. That is a direct quote from your convocation speech at Hong Kong University in 2013. The determination of appropriate is ultimately yours. That is the power you have as the Secretary of Justice. And the question that I want to ask you: what is the Secretary of Justice going to do about the medical profession in Hong Kong? This is what I was sharing with my plastic surgery colleagues in Beijing, that plastic surgery in Hong Kong is in a state of crisis. If it continues in its denial of reality, it is in great danger. If it accepts that there is this problem and starts to do something about it, there is a great opportunity for plastic surgery in Hong Kong to be a major influence on plastic surgery in mainland China. Plastic surgery is such a broad specialty, and there is the reconstructive plastic surgery, there is the cosmetic plastic surgery. Both have aesthetic principles and practice underlying them, but in Hong Kong the training is only in reconstructive plastic surgery. I proposed that to give doctors who were practicing aesthetic medicine, who are the real specialists in aesthetic medicine, some sense of dignity, some sense of accreditation by setting up a postgraduate diploma course in aesthetic medicine, a comprehensive course, part-time, a year in duration, didactic lectures, workshop, and awarding the appropriate certification, which is based on an assessment of the competence of the practitioner when considering the outcomes of the demonstration of their skills. It's a very different approach to credentialing, which currently is so much focused on qualification and training with little assessment of competence. Now, I spoke to many potential shareholders in this concept, and there was a tremendous amount of support for it. But there were two bodies that I know of who were adamantly opposed. One was the Board of Plastic Surgery, the official board representing the specialty in the College of Surgeons of Hong Kong. And this was a letter sent to the Hong Kong Medical Association, copies to the President of the College of Surgeons, Censor-in-Chief. It was a letter of absolute nonsense. It was obviously based on gossip and rumour and not on fact, and it was shameful. But even more shameful was this letter written by the President of the Hong Kong Society of Plastic, Reconstructive and Aesthetic Surgeons. It began in a rather legal approach. It has come to the attention, etc. Again, based on gossip and rumour. It was defamatory in nature. It was a most unfortunate letter for Dr. David Saoyang Wong to write. He is the dishonest doctor who is the focus of the first case in the EMC series, Why Do Doctors Lie?